challenge of governance is to see how we can leverage what is on the ground and convert this to wealth for the people.
Russia, China are gaining entry into Africa, and it would appear that some Western countries are losing out.
You're working as an expatriate worker, then you're paid in your currency. But then if you must spend those money, you need to convert those money to the local currency to spend.
For Social Security to work, we need to know exactly how many we are. We don't have a precise number. We need to know exact location of people.
When we address this exchange rate volatility, we will see definitely cost of goods and services will come down.
From a security point of view, we should employ the technology to ensure that we can track individuals and goods within the continent.
This is Early Exchange with Femi Ayodele.
You know, the Early Exchange is all about shaping policy and advancing development. With our conversation today, we're set to give you the best of programming.
And Blessing Aiche.
We do hope that you enjoy every time you spend with us here today. The world needs peace. The world needs to come to a round table and find solutions to the pockets of troubles.
Early Exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
Good morning and welcome to Early Exchange. I'm Blessing Age. Now, this is the very first for this week. It happens to be almost the last week of the month of February, and today we'll be looking at how some Asian and Middle East countries are trying to facilitate global trade. The gentleman that you always see by my side, Femi Ayodele, has not failed to show up this morning just to help you have a great start to a new day. Hello, Femi.
Yeah, good morning. It's a beautiful day, you know, and another opportunity for us to start the week on a strategic level. So, my pleasure to be here. There's something about when your job is like your hobby. There's always this excitement when you're at work and then you're supposed to do what you ought to do. That's the way I feel this morning.
All right, but there's another side to it. When your job is like your hobby, your employer could hear that and say, why don't you need payments? Just joyfully do it.
Well, you create a balance. So for what you do, you get the other side.
I'm just joking.
Yeah.
But good to see you, Femi.
Yeah, good to see you. How was your weekend?
Yeah, very short. You know, in my mind, I'm thinking maybe we should include Friday to the weekend.
Interesting. For me, I had an opportunity to do one small one, but it's been a while. So that made my weekend productive.
Maybe I envy you in that regard. There was no one day.
Oh, don't worry. I'll fix you in the next one.
Please bring the invites.
Glad to know you're there with us. It's a beautiful Monday morning, an opportunity for us to look at issues related to business, you know, related to the economy. And today we'll be looking at issues that has to do with cross-border payment among the Arab nations. There's a new payment platform which is springing up called Buna, and then other nations are coming up, but we're going to look at the impact of this development. Don't forget, you can be part of this conversation. All you just have to do is to go on a social media platform, on a YouTube page, to share your view and to be part of your program. Let's set the ball rolling now with news update, and Grace is standing by in the newsroom to take us around the world.
Hello and welcome to News Update on Souq News. I am Grace Komolafe. After undergoing maintenance, the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria FAN has reopened runway 18R/36L at Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, following an 11-month closure. This reopening alleviates pressure on domestic runways, with international traffic now utilizing links 2 and 3 of the runway. Kenya Airport marked the occasion with a landing and a water cannon salute. Initially announced for an 8-week maintenance closure in March 2023, the prolonged shutdown disrupted air traffic flow, increased costs for airlines, and caused passengers delay. The managing director of the authority, Olubome Kuku, noted that the runway now reopened measures 3,900 m in length and 60 m in width, citing collaborative efforts with stakeholders and support from aviation authorities. Still in Nigeria, in line with Nigeria's leadership in Africa Local Content Development, the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, NCDMB, has hosted a two-day experience sharing session with Mozambique's Empresa Nacional de Hidrocarboneto, ENH, during the 8th Sub-Saharan African International Petroleum Exhibition and Conference in Lagos, led by Board's Executive Secretary, Engineer Felix Omashola Ogbe, and the company's chairman, Mr. Estevao Rafael Pell. The session, facilitated by Aberdeen Global Strategies and Solutions, focused on fostering indigenous participation and value optimization in hydrocarbons and minerals. Participants delineated revenue generation versus in-country value maximization, stressing the latter's significance for sustainable sector growth. Key parameters discussed included regulatory frameworks, capacity building, funding, research, development, and market access. Moving on, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has announced a staff-level agreement with Ivory Coast for a $1.3 billion program aimed at combating climate change through the fund's Resilience and Sustainability Facility. Highlighting Ivory Coast's vulnerability to climate change, IMF noted challenges such as rising temperature, rainfall disruption, and coastal erosion, posing significant threats to economic growth. The program, spanning from 2024 to 2026, focuses on boosting climate adaptation and mitigating efforts in key sectors like agriculture, transportation, infrastructure, and public finance and management. Pending approval by the IMF's Executive Board in upcoming weeks, the agreement reveals collaborative efforts to address pressing environmental concerns while fostering sustainable economic development in Ivory Coast. And now, following last week's data revealing persistent U.S. inflation, the dollar maintained stability earlier today, delaying expectations for the Federal Reserve's easing cycle commencement. Meanwhile, the yen remained near the crucial 150 per dollar threshold, prompting market vigilance towards potential Japanese intervention. In early trading, the yen strengthened slightly to 149.94 per dollar, though it remains down 6% for the year. Against the euro, the yen hovered around 3 months lows of 161.925. Similarly, Ministry of Finance officials has issued warnings against rapid currency movement, hinting at possible intervention, while market analysts anticipate a test of last year's low of 152% per dollar. The dollar index started by week marginally low at 104.14, following 5 consecutive weeks of gains, reflecting trade-adjusted expectations for a delayed Fed rate cut. And finally, Indonesia's Upers Bank says the bank may maintain its key policy rate steady at the upcoming February 2021 meeting, citing subdued inflation and the strengthening currency outlook, with Indonesia's inflation rate remaining within the central bank's target range and the rupee outperforming many peers despite a 1.4% decline against the dollar this year. Analysts foresee the bank retaining its policy stance in the short term. All 30 economic surveyed expect Bank Indonesia to hold its benchmark rate at 6.00% last week, with median forecasts projecting stability until at least end of March. This aligns with the U.S. Federal Reserve's anticipated rate cut, with economists predicting Bank Indonesia's first rate cut in June, influenced by Fed actions. While some economists anticipate rate cuts as early as next quarter, external risks such as higher than expected U.S. inflation could delay such actions. And that's it. That's it on news updates this morning. Many thanks for watching. We'll return to Blessing Aiche and Femi Ayodele on Early Exchange. I am Grace Komolafe. Good morning.
All right, thank you, Grace, for adding flavor to the program with the news update. You actually took us around the world. The need for nations to collaborate economically, globally has been of concern to many experts, as many nations to facilitate trade. Give us a background to what is fueling this kind of initiative and development among nations, most importantly in the Middle East now.
Thank you very much, Femi. I think this came out at the recent concluded World Government Summit that took place in Dubai. The Minister for Financial Services put this to be at the sideline of that event. What is important is that before now, the cross-border payment platform has been very successful, particularly with Egypt, Lebanon, and some of those Arab countries within that region. So to a very large extent, it's been very successful. So they are extending that platform. China is likely to come in, India and Pakistan, and some countries in Europe, and some other country in Africa. What that shows is that that will enhance settlement, particularly in trade. That collaboration will enhance trade among those regions that subscribe to that initiative. So what that brings to bear again is that increasingly the dollar as a unit of transaction in international trade is gradually weakened, and I hope this will improve on trade collaborations among those countries that have subscribed to that cross-border payment system.
Now, talking about trade, now, how much of trade do you think happens between the United Arab Emirates and some of those countries that it's trying to integrate into the cross-border payment system, which is the bona? Now, for it to even have a currency that is for which cross-border payments can be done, it seems like it's seen as a strong trade partner.
No, the already collaboration among the UAE and those countries that we mentioned, particularly Egypt, Lebanon and all that, the dirham has always been used as a payment platform among those countries. So India, China and Pakistan coming on board equally have a lot of trading relationship with UAE and across those countries that subscribe to the new payment system. So that collaboration and initiative will improve on trade relation among the country, since payments will be settled speedily using a currency that those groups have subscribed to. In that regard, I think the volume of trade over time will equally improve beyond the current level of trade that exists among those countries.
Now, let's focus critically on some of these countries that will be coming on that platform between now and next year. The projection is that in the next 1 year, these countries will be part of the platform. You have India, you have China, you have Pakistan, and some European countries and African countries. What kind of impact will this be on the system? Looking at the peculiarities of this country, for instance, their size when it comes to their GDP, and then the kind of influence they have in that region, what impact will it have on this payment system?
Maybe apart from a few of the European countries that are subscribed to that payment system, you can see that the BRICS nation is expanding, and some of those countries within that alliance are already parts of BRICS. And this other payment platform system will equally enhance the relationship in kind of the strategic relationship that exists between those countries. Therefore, trade and investment will be done in a sustainable manner among those countries, and that will enhance the existing trade and the future partnership that we comfort based on that relationship. And the dominance of dollar gradually will be weakened vis-a-vis other payment platforms that are introduced regionally to enhance trade among themselves.
Do you foresee any regulatory hurdle that might impede this integration?
I don't think so. For nations to get into a summit arena and they subscribe to the backstage work would have been done, maybe apart from those countries in Europe who are strategically linked to the UAE, I don't really think any other partner in terms of assessing that cross-border payment will have any major challenge. Before it comes to fore, all the diplomatic and the consular relationship and the trade relationship among those countries will have been streamlined, and certain government-to-government agreements had been signed. And this cut across even government-to-government, government-to-people, and people-to-people will benefit based on that initiative, as was mentioned by the Minister for Financial Services of UAE.
Now, let's look at the benefits of this payment platform to African countries. You know, it's a UAE-based payment platform. Even though the reports are still sketchy about some of the African countries that are coming on board, they've not been mentioned yet. But if any of the African countries are part of this platform, looking at the relationship between UAE and some of these African countries, how huge will that kind of collaboration be?
Egypt is already part of that cross-border payment as we speak. So more African countries are coming on board for that payment. The idea is that it will ease trade among those nations that can settle their bills across border within those countries. So it will improve if more African countries come into that. The dominance of dollar in terms of transaction and the pressure on foreign exchange for those countries to a very large extent will reduce minimally. And that again will open up trade among those countries that are subscribed to that alliance for cross-border payment under the Bonner arrangement.
But in terms of exchange now, do you think it's going to have any benefits for countries that are joining, particularly for African countries? If you need to adopt the Bonner currency, now what would that involve?
No, what it means is that rather than using dollar as a means of international trade, you have other cross-border payment platform that will ease payment. So government to government, business to business, people to people transactions will be very fast based on this payment platform. So the reliance on dollar gradually is reducing. To that extent, it will impact on the relationship among those countries that subscribe to that payment platform. So business become very easy in terms of payment, because the platform is a unique driver in terms of international financial settlement among those alliances or countries that are in that belt.
So as a follow-up, I'm asking, will it have any positive impact on the local currency of those countries?
Of course, that will reduce, when you look at the exchange vis-a-vis the dollar, for the fact that you have other payment gateway, then I think that to a very large extent will impact on the local currency of those countries that are involved. And from the report so far, Egypt and some other countries that are in that platform are already enjoying that window in terms of quickening transaction and in terms of the exchange value that they do among those trading countries.
All right, let's go on a short break now. We'll be right back to discuss more, to look at this development as regards things taking place in the Middle East. Stay with us.
The heart of sub-Saharan Africa, where commerce meets progress. Welcome to Souq News, your source for business, economy, and development insight that drive nations forward. From the vibrant streets of Lagos, Africa's fastest economic hub, Souq News takes you on a journey of discovery, analyzing and reporting the facts that lay the foundation for growth and development. We don't just report the news, we create it. Souq News is more than a channel. It is a catalyst for change, spotlighting the stories that shape economies, inspire entrepreneurs, and fuel progress. Covering business, finance, technology, energy, and many more, Souq News provides a daily deep dive into the stories that matter, interviews with industry titans, and analysis that empowers your understanding of economic landscape. Join us daily as we dissect, discuss, and deliver the most relevant and factual news on business and the economy. Souq News is your trusted guide, empowering you with the knowledge to make informed decisions.
challenge of governance is to see how we can leverage what is on the ground and convert this to wealth for the people.
Russia, China are gaining entry into Africa, and it would appear that some Western countries are losing out.
You're working as an expatriate worker, then you're paid in your currency. But then if you must spend those money, you need to convert those money to the local currency to spend.
For Social Security to work, we need to know exactly how many we are. We don't have a precise number. We need to know exact location of people.
When we address this exchange rate volatility, we will see definitely cost of goods and services will come down.
From a security point of view, we should employ the technology to ensure that we can track individuals and goods within the continent.
This is Early Exchange with Femi Ayodele.
You know, the Early Exchange is all about shaping policy and advancing development. With our conversation today, we're set to give you the best of programming.
And Blessing Aiche.
We do hope that you enjoy every time you spend with us here today. The world needs peace. The world needs to come to a round table and find solutions to the pockets of troubles.
Early Exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
The challenge of governance is to see how we can leverage what is on the ground and convert this to wealth for the people.
Russia, China are gaining entry into Africa, and it would appear that some Western countries are losing out.
You're working as an expatriate worker, then you're paid in your currency. But then if you must spend those money, you need to convert those money to the local currency to spend.
For Social Security to work, we need to know exactly how many we are. We don't have a precise number. We need to know exact location of people.
When we address this exchange rate volatility, we will see definitely cost of goods and services will come down.
From a security point of view, we should employ the technology to ensure that we can track individuals and goods within the continent.
This is Early Exchange with Femi Ayodele.
You know, the Early Exchange is all about shaping policy and advancing development. With our conversation today, we're set to give you the best of programming.
And Blessing Aiche.
We do hope that you enjoy every time you spend with us here today. The world needs peace. The world needs to come to a round table and find solutions to the pockets of troubles.
Early Exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
Yes, glad to know you're still there with us. We're still looking at the cross-border payment system among nations in the Middle East. And we still have our in-house analyst with us. Sam is still here with us. Sam, glad to know you're still here with us.
A pleasure.
All right. Now, let's look at the statement made by the Minister of Finance according to this payment platform. The statement states that the essence of Brunei is to resolve all the challenges with particular focus on the Arab region to enhance economic integration within the region and empower the economies of the Arab countries. My question is, why the emphasis on the Arab countries if this kind of payment system is also to facilitate trade among nations in the Middle East and even just beyond that, European countries and African countries? But why the emphasis on Arab countries?
I think the emphasis is there for the purpose of improving on the ease of doing business within the Arab countries. So if other countries like India, Pakistan, China, and some other country, non-Arab countries within Africa, is just to increase on the integration of the economy, and when these payment settlements are done easily, that will increase on the volume of trade and the relationship beyond those countries that are not within the Arab region, that are trading with the Arab region. So that will help in economic integration, and that will benefit their people. So therefore, the purpose of any relationship is for the mutuality of what the people stand to gain. So if you have a settlement that will enhance the integration of the Arab nation, those up in the Middle East and some in Africa. Therefore, Pakistan and India and China that do business with them, we help to improve on that relationship. Therefore, it becomes more beneficial to the Arab nation in particular.
But if you look at the Arab League, wouldn't it look like more like their priorities are being centralized in this kind of payment system? And will it not breed distrust on the part of some other nations if the structure is left this way?
I don't think so. Economic integration is to enhance the benefits that you get from those kind of relationship. I don't think so. They are just consolidating on how best they can improve the life and the welfare of their citizens. The international politics is very dynamic. People begin to look where their interest is up at any given point in time. Therefore, that initiative will continue to improve on the welfare of the citizens. And the alignments will continue to change from time to time.
All right, let's look at potential negative implications of this currency or this other countries joining the Bonner cross-border payment system. One, let's look at the possible dependence on the UAE financial infrastructure. Does it have, or would it have any negative implication on these other countries?
No, I don't think so. It's just a means of settlement. So every parameter, every framework will be put in place among the nations that are participating in that single infrastructure in terms of the payment platform. So once that is done, issues of terrorism, money laundering will have been taken care of based on the framework that those countries will put in place to safeguard those relationships. So I don't really think there's any problem with that, because every financial framework needs to be reworked from time to time. So that policy regime that has been put in place among this government, particularly government to government, people to people, business to business, that platform will enhance their relationship, and every safeguards will be put in place to secure the payment among those countries.
Let me point your attention to also the statement made by the CEO of that central payment platform. He said that today cross-border payments are facing challenges related to slowness. I would like you to react to this, to slowness, lack of transparency, and difficulty in assessing. Now, looking at some of these challenges that's been mentioned by the CEO, what do you think can be done to erase this kind of imminent challenges that may, affect this kind of payment system? Is pointing attention to these things which are very peculiar to this kind of centralized payment system. Now, for this kind of one being considered for the Middle East, the issue of slowness, lack of transparency, and difficulty in accessing this platform, which could be peculiar to any other platform that is technologically driven anyway.
I think what you're trying to speak to there, if I understand you very clearly, is speaking to the larger platforms of payment that are challenged by being slow, transparency. When you talk about transparency, you talk about money laundering, financing terrorism, and other illicit financial transactions. So it's saying, in line with this relationship among these few countries, once this platform is open to this particular country that is subscribing to it at this particular point in time, those challenges that he's talking about will be reduced minimally. Every payment platform may have this challenge, but I think he's talking about a larger payment platform that has challenges. Therefore, there's a need to take advantage of this cross-border transaction that is dedicated to a few countries to ease financial settlement among the trading blocks that subscribe to that system.
All right, so what do you think is the interest for China, for instance, China and India wanting to join? That of Pakistan, one could understand that is also a Middle East country, so it's more like their region. But for China and Pakistan, for China and India, what do you think is the attraction for them in wanting to integrate into the Bonner?
I think it's just a strategic initiative to enhance trade relation. There are lots of trade between China, India and the Middle East. So that platform will improve on the settlement of trade among those nations at the level of government to government, business to business, individual to individual, or people to people, as the case may be. So it will be mutually beneficial to them in terms of sustaining their trade relationship. The volume of trade between the Middle East and India and China is very high. So this will help to streamline and help settlement quickly for those who do business among themselves.
All right. Permit my use of word, but it seems like there's this economic coup against the dollar, globally. I say you should permit my use of word. I had to use the word coup because it's looking like some people just feel, okay, in the international trade, we just need to mitigate against the influence of dollars. And this is what is playing out. Last week we talked about, the influence and the collaboration among the BRICS nation, and here you have another platform. What's playing out and what will be the fate of dollar in international trade?
Essentially, it's international politics. Since the Second World War, the dominance of the United States of America has been questioned. I often use the word that the U.S. is always mounting democracy and the rule of law. And on the other side, they are causing proxy wars across the globe. To that extent, most countries want to free themselves with the influence of the dollar on trade. So this new alignment, new initiative, new relationship across the globe is welcome to the extent that when America sneezes, I think that will reduce to a very large extent. I don't have any problem with countries making new relationship to enhance their trade. And I think Africa, as a continent, must equally take advantage of this new initiative so that it can reduce the impact of the dollar and the foreign exchange quagmire that most African countries, particularly Nigeria, has suffered in recent years. So this is a win-win situation for those countries who want to leave the dollar regime that has slowed down some development of some country where there's over-reliance on the dollar for settlement in international trade.
Talking about wins, this kind of position the UAE as a global trade hub. Do you think so?
No, that relationship is there already. They're just expanding that relationship so that some of the hiccups that the CEO of the Bona payment settlement mentioned, sometimes when you settle bills, it's slow. There are issues. Therefore, with this new gateway that is open to the trading partners with the Middle East, that will sustain their relationship further, and the ease of doing business will be fast-tracked among those countries that subscribe to it.
Now, you have Egypt to be part of this platform. Let's paint a scenario now for Nigeria. If Nigeria is going to be part of this platform, you're aware of the volume of businesses between, Nigerians and people in the UAE. People travel to UAE for tourism, for other business reasons. Now, if Nigeria is going to be part of this payment platform, what impact will it be for a country like Nigeria? The word is if. We know Nigeria is not part of it now. But do you foresee a large impact on Nigeria economy or a kind of good relation between Nigeria and UAE if Nigeria keys into this kind of payment platform? And will it facilitate trade?
Well, the government has to do is cost-benefit analysis in terms of when to join, how to join, at what are the benefits of joining. So in the long run, I think Nigeria may go in that direction, because if you look at the major trading partner, China, India, and possibly Pakistan in terms of garments, that in no distant time, Nigeria may join, and that will improve on the impact of dollar in terms of the exchange value. If you have other platform where money can be exchanged and you can trade quickly, then that impact on the dollar, on the local currency will reduce, in my view. But then, as we speak, That is not on the table, but I think in the long run, if you see so many countries aligning with some other country, I think it will be beneficial for Nigeria in the long run to join that payment platform.
In terms of financial inclusion, will this have any impact or benefit for the businesses and individuals from these countries that will be making use of the border payment system?
Of course, in this service, already financial inclusion for the fact that the cross-border payment has extended to increase on the number of countries that use that channel for payment. So that's to a very large extent. If you look at it from the micro level, that's at the individual level, then that's more financial inclusion. So because these payment systems does not stop at government alone, does not stop at business to business alone, individual to individual transactions, in terms of remittances, payment of school fees, and other personal transactions will be enhanced through that platform. So that will improve on financial inclusion, which the world is moving quickly to. So once there's more financial inclusion, then payment services are done quickly and speedily, which enhance the transaction time for trade.
Are there other challenges you foresee might likely, occur with this kind of alliance, especially to the ones that are peculiar to cross-border payment system? Are there other challenges that could arise?
I think the challenge generally with cross-border payments has to do with money laundering, financing terrorism, other illicit transfer of money, offshore and onshore, as the case may be. But if I heard the minister very well, he was saying that the platform has already mitigated against some of those illicit transactions. Therefore, that fear is not there at the moment.
All right, let's look at the ability of the UAE to create a payment platform, system for cross-border trade. Now, Africa has been trying to do something like that for a very long time, coming up with a single currency for Africa to facilitate cross-border trade. Now, what is to learn here in the case of the Bona?
I think here is even the ongoing summit. I think even our president made a proposal with a view to enhancing a common currency for Africa. The challenge here for us in Africa is the politics of the different colonial authority that has held Africa down for a very long time. So the lesson is that for Africa to be able to sustain a cross-border payment system, they must have the political will and find a way to do away with this colonial heritage that divide us. Rather, we should focus on things that bring us together and integrate us so that we can benefit from the African Continental Free Trade Agreement that is designed to improve on intra-African trade.
All right, away from issues related to these cross-border payments system, now let's look at the relationship or the economic relations between US and China. Over time, this, I don't want to use the word power tussle or this power play or economic rivalry between these countries have been lingering over the years, and it's looking at a reality to live with at the moment. Talk to us. What are some of the realities playing out between these two nations? And looking at the meeting that happened between Foreign Affairs Minister for China and that of US Secretary of State last week, what will you make of the relationship between these two countries?
It's essentially a power play. There's a mutual suspicion between the United States of America and China in terms of the increasing dominance of China in global affairs. So in that regard, the United States of America does not want to give its power relation to China. But the reality on ground is that China increasingly dominate global affairs. So, but the politics in terms of sanction, the relationship between China and America will continue to be a global discourse over a period of time. But essentially, it's power relation, it's mutual suspicion between the two countries. Then, but to what extent can they resolve this power relation issue? It remains to be seen how quickly that can be resolved.
All right, so what do you make of the call from China to the U.S. to lift what they term illegal sanctions and to ease travel concerns? Do you think China is right in terming those sanctions illegal?
All right, it's within the sovereignty of each country to look at the interests of their country. If America has put some sanction on China for certain reasons, that would be in the national interest of the United States of America. On the other hand, China is calling that some of those illegal sanctions, the word illegal here is debatable, whoever is using the word. But I think if some of those sanctions will continually affect China, it equally have negative impact on the United States of America because they have a trading relationship that exists, and both countries cannot do without themselves in terms of trade. But I think diplomacy in terms of this shuttle diplomacy between the two foreign affairs ministers will help to resolve that growing tension, and I think diplomacy can resolve to a very large extent on how they can shape policies in terms of removing sanctions, whether they are legal or illegal.
Now, the issues playing out here is the fact that the United States has decided to place sanctions on some Chinese companies for them not to be able to have access to some technologies. And the reason cited by the U.S. government is for some national security reasons, national threat. Do you think this is something to go by? And how do you see the relationship between these two countries playing out? If U.S. insisting, that we're not going to lift this ban for security reasons, and you have China on the other hand arguing that this is illegal, do you see this will further deplete the kind of relationship these two countries have, or do you see any diplomacy being applied to resolve this issue?
National interest is the common currency in international relation and international politics. So each country must pursue their national interest. Whether this diplomatic shuttle will help to reduce the tension, one may not be able to see that on the table quickly, but then Russia has a way of trying to mitigate some of those sanctions. The U.S., on the other hand, is essentially trying to protect its national interest. Again, that is essentially about the mutual suspicion that exists within the country. But then, in terms of the existing relationship, I think they will find a middle ground through diplomacy to be able to resolve some of their issues.
Now, this is not the first time that the U.S. and China are having some kind of trade war or some row between them. Do you think that it might get to the point where there will be some reciprocity from China should the U.S. refuse to give in to China's request?
Reciprocity in terms of not wanting to do business with the United States of America, or is in terms
in terms of also looking for a way to maybe sanction the operation of some U.S. companies in China, or just find a way to get back at the U.S.?
I think what they are doing, the two foreign affairs ministers are already on the talking term. I do know that diplomacy will resolve the problem because there are mutual interests that will be sustainable over a period of time. But then, if America continues to hold a very strong position that is not in the national interest of China, maybe they may look at options when they weigh their options, which option will be best for for them whether to use the principle of reciprocity in terms of the relationship that exists between them. But I think diplomacy is a win-win solution for this kind of issues among the major player in the international system.
Okay, how will you react to the statement, credited to the U.S. president, referring to the Chinese president as a dictator? In fact, a press conference, the issue came up again, and he said he stood by his comment. And don't you think this will further deplete the kind of relationship there, or there's element of truth in what he said?
The United States of America has the freedom to make any statement. Whether that statement is serious or it has any impact is a different subject matter. But on the other hand, American has always talked about democracy, the rule of law, and at the end of the day, they are instigating proxy war. They are supporting countries against other countries. So when you talk about dictatorship, these are just political statements to show up the public image of those leaders. So America, yes, prides itself as a beacon of democracy across the world. But if you look at their affairs across the world, even the current relationship between Israel and Palestine, the hand of America for Israel against the Palestinians is open, and you have other places where they had been involved in proxy war. But on the other hand, China does not shy away from the centrality of the way they pursue their national agenda. So whether you accuse Xi Jinping as a dictator remains to be seen.
All right, talking about China not shying away from its system of government, they also seem not to be shying away from every move to de-dollarize the global economy. First with the BRICS and now with the Bonner. Now, what do you think would be the reciprocal move of the U.S. as China is building more alliance with countries to de-dollarize the global economy? Do you also see the U.S. building more trade alliance with other countries to sustain their influence?
Whereas fluid and dynamic, a nation will continue to pursue their national interests. So where they think their national interest is uppermost, they will find a way to grow those relationships. On the other hand, BRICS has come to stay. The effort by the BRICS nation to reduce the influence of the dollar has equally come to stay. But then America, with a view to see how that their own strategic influence is shaped over time, will find a way to see how they can influence other countries not to join in those new alliances that are coming up. But what is important is that national interests, no permanent friend, no permanent enemy, will continue to dictate the affairs of nation.
All right. Interestingly, the Foreign Affairs Minister provided a solution to this, and let me read it out, and I would like to also react. He said, the two sides should adhere to the principles of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, win-win cooperation, actively exploring the right way for the two major countries to get along with each other. Do you agree with that?
Perfectly well, and that's like I mentioned in the beginning of the conversation.
The issue of mutual respect.
Yeah, mutual respect is number one when you do some strategic partnership among nations. So that mutuality of interest is uppermost in that relationship. Then collaboration, economic prosperity for citizens, the driving force in those relationships. I think, in my view, that's okay.
Hold on, it's rather said than being done in reality. What kind of mutual respect do you think U.S. should have for China if this rivalry has been on for a while?
No, in spite of those mutual suspicion, sovereignty is key. The sovereignty of a nation is key. So every country has its own sovereignty. They make their laws. They know what is suitable for their citizens. So on the other hand, the US, so everybody who plays in the international system knows to what extent they can interfere with the internal politics of other nations. That again speaks to the concept of mutual respect among countries. So, and that is what can sustain those relationships. So when there's a breach in the relationship, then nations can go into war. But then we don't really have real wars these days. You just have proxy wars. So that's, to a large extent, we help in sustaining the relationship among those nations. So mutuality is key and central to national sovereignty.
Okay, talking about proxy war, it's kind of interesting how we've seen that play out in recent time, where there's a conflict between countries and there's a suspicion of another country being actually the push why that conflict has degenerated. So it seems to be a new tool used by countries. Now, what would make it impossible for certain countries not to allow themselves to be used as the proxy weapon for other countries, or to not fall into that trap?
It's essentially about the leadership, and even when you have allies all over the world, the extent to which they direct your internal politics must be controlled by progressive leadership. So that can, once the leaders are very clear-minded in terms of what constitutes their national interests, even though they have allies elsewhere that support some of their economic agenda, they should not open their borders to countries that want to impact them negatively in terms of proxy war.
But sometimes it's not very clear to know the intention of the other party. They begin as alliance, they begin as friends, and then before you know it, there's a kind of influence, and it's somewhat not very clear to the countries what is actually going on until it begins to happen, and they sometimes the collateral damage in the proxy war.
No, that's a subtle diplomacy, but a nation with well thought out foreign policy framework should be able to discern where other nations want to influence them negatively, that not in the interest of the country, or something that will impact negatively on the citizens of the country. So alliances are okay, but then you must be very clear with the kind of foreign aid, foreign intervention, foreign support that you get from some countries, that they don't use you against some other nation or against your neighbor for their own advancement of their foreign policy objective, either to sell their war weapons or to find a way to pull money out of your country. So once you understand those dynamics in international politics, then you'll be able to be guided appropriately where such subtle moves come into your nation.
Now, I'll still refer you to another statement made by the minister, because it seems to me that part of what is fueling this rivalry is also the position of the United States when it comes to Taiwan, respecting the independence or the sovereignty of that nation. Hear what the minister said about this. He said, "There's only one China in the world, and Taiwan is part of Chinese territory, which is the real status quo of Taiwan question. He warned against Taiwan independence, which with the connivance and support by external forces that are attempting to change the status quo." How do you react to that?
The Taiwan Strip, as it's called, has been a long-drawn issue in international relation. China has always claimed ownership of Taiwan, but then other countries feel that China has overbearing influence on Taiwan. Therefore, they are supporting Taiwan to find a way not to be part of Russia. That is going to be a very difficult issue to resolve. And I think over the years, diplomatic means have also often been used to discuss that problem. But to what extent can the West be able to get Taiwan out of China is going to be a tall order. So, but talks and this kind of shuttle diplomacy will continually help to douse tension from both parties. But then, in the final analysis, China will continue to lay claim to Taiwan, in my view.
All right. Now, if China has been accused of having overbearing influence over Taiwan, do you also think that even the U.S. and some other countries pushing, particularly the U.S., for Taiwan to annex from China is in a way an overbearing interference on the affairs of these countries?
That is the reason for this shuttle diplomacy. Over the years, this kind of visits has been ongoing to find a way not to escalate.
The heart of sub-Saharan Africa, where commerce meets progress. Welcome to Souq News, your source for business, economy, and development insight that drive nations forward. From the vibrant streets of Lagos, Africa's fastest economic hub, Souq News takes you on a journey of discovery, analyzing and reporting the facts that lay the foundation for growth and development. We don't just report the news, we create it. Souq News is more than a channel. It is a catalyst for change, spotlighting the stories that shape economies, inspire entrepreneurs, and fuel progress. Covering business, finance, technology, energy, and many more, Souq News provides a daily deep dive into the stories that matter, interviews with industry titans, and analysis that empowers your understanding of economic landscape. Join us daily as we dissect, discuss, and deliver the most relevant and factual news on business and the economy. Souq News is your trusted guide, empowering you with the knowledge to make informed decisions.